tonight, the Chief Medical Officer of Health issues a warning about rabies and ticks. That story and...
For them, they're going to have big bank accounts, like they're going to be rich off of this. And us, we're not going to get nothing off of it.
Hydro-Quebec suspends work at Gull Island after members of Labrador's Innu community blocked the road in protest.
Goutweed. You might recognize it from your own garden, and it bothers gardeners all over the province.
Once it's in there, you have to get in there and take out every part of that plant.
We did a black plastic here in the backyard in one spot, and we think that the black plastic works.
I'm Madison Taylor, and I'll have that story coming up on Here and Now.
The province says it needs more information on job impacts before it will join a nationwide agreement on removing alcohol trade barriers.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin in Labrador, where protesters from the Innu community have forced Hydro-Quebec to suspend work at the future site of the Gull Island hydroelectric project. About 20 people are blocking the road to the site in protest. The protest began yesterday after the group learned workers were headed to the area. The Innu of Labrador reached an $87 million agreement in principle with Hydro-Quebec in June, but the land is used for the Innu's annual gathering. And protesters say the loss of those grounds is not worth the money. In a statement to CBC, Hydro-Quebec says it's pausing work at the site and that it's committed to better understanding the concerns of the demonstrators. Despite that announcement, the protesters say they want to meet with Hydro's top brass and they don't plan on ending the barricade.
For me, the Hydro-Quebec should come here and talk to the Innu people and talk to the elders and talk to the new generation. That's what they're all about, the new generation today. If they're monitoring, they would come here and talk to us, talk to the Innu people, but they're not doing nothing. They're not responding back. They're not coming to the Innu people. They're not doing nothing. We're just standing here protesting. Now they hears about it, they're suspending it. So we're not giving up that easy. I'm just waiting for my people to come and have more support, and we're not going to give up this easy. Barricade is still here. It's just still staying.
Well, government is explaining why Newfoundland and Labrador is the only province that refuses to sign a new interprovincial trade agreement on direct-to-consumer alcohol sales. The Finance Department says the province needs to know more about how the MOU will impact jobs. Government has previously expressed concerns that removing interprovincial trade barriers on alcohol would cause job losses at local Labatt and Molson breweries. The new statement comes in the wake of a nationwide agreement being signed in Quebec City this week, which will allow alcohol to be ordered and shipped across provincial borders to be sold directly to consumers. One brewery feels this province should get on board with the rest of the country.
Newfoundland is a small market in Canada, so how important it is to the rest of the country to be able to sell alcohol here, I don't know. I think it's more the spirit of the thing. We're, as a country, we're trying to, we've all kind of agreed that eliminating trade barriers between provinces is a good thing until we get one we don't like.
Goutweed might look like just another backyard plant, but the invasive species is taking over local lawns and gardens. One homeowner says it's a problem and people need to take it more seriously. The CBC's Madison Taylor has that story.
This is goutweed, and gardeners will try anything to get rid of it, considering tarps, herbicides, digging, and even grazing goats and pigs. And it's in gardens all over the province and the country.
When Angela Way moved into her St. John's house, she was excited about the potential for her big backyard. What she wasn't counting on was a years-long battle with goutweed, a relentless invasive species.
It's basically my whole backyard.
This is what Angela's backyard looks like now. Heavy black tarps blocking the sun, in an attempt to kill off the goutweed and get her garden back. But that could take a couple of years. Getting rid of this plant pest is more difficult than most. Besides covering it in tarps, people dig up their backyards or resort to heavy-duty herbicides.
It's not an easy weed to get rid of because it's got such a strong root system that once it's in there, you have to get in there and take out every part of that plant. So it's not just a matter of cutting off the top like you would with some of the other plants.
And you have to be thorough. If even the tiniest bit is left behind, the problem starts all over again.
Just something this small is enough to regenerate that plant. If you're a gardener, once you see it, get rid of it right away.
But that's not always possible. For Angela, it was a problem that came with her home. She bought her house in the winter of 2021, not knowing what was waiting for her come spring.
There needs to be something within real estate for disclosure of something like this. It'd be nice for homeowners to know what they're getting themselves into.
But she's not alone in the struggle against the troublesome plant. Angela finds solace in the Goutweed support group, with over 9,000 members and counting across North America.
Fun, entertaining, heartbreaking at the same time.
Members share their woes and advice, and Angela's chatted with other Newfoundlanders in the group about the issue. She heard of more organised efforts to raise awareness, like in Ontario, and hopes to see something like that happen here.
I don't know how Ontario is doing, but I guess they're trying as well. We got a lot of area to cover, and it's going to be very, very difficult, but we're going to try.
The Ontario Invasive Plant Council is a non-profit organisation that provides support and resources for those impacted by invasive plants, including goutweed. The Department of Fisheries, Forestry and Agriculture for Newfoundland and Labrador said that while it's classed as an invasive plant, goutweed isn't regulated or monitored by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. However, it is controlled in commercial agricultural operations in the province. Angela says she's also worried about goutweed making its way into other natural habitats around St. John's, such as Kent's Pond. But at this stage, Tim Walsh says gardens are most at risk.
So far for goutweed, it tends to be more of a garden invasive plant as opposed to a wild invasive plant.
Though it may look unsuspecting, goutweed can cause big problems for gardeners. And unfortunately, the solution isn't always simple. It takes time. Madison Taylor, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, a dog in Hopedale has tested positive for rabies. This is the first time in a decade a pet in this province has tested positive for that disease, which is fatal. Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Janice Fitzgerald, says they believe the dog interacted with a wild fox. Every couple of years, wild animals are found in Labrador which test positive for the disease. Fitzgerald says they're working to make sure anyone who interacted with the dog is given protection.
At the moment, through public health investigation, there's probably about 20 people who've potentially had contact with the animals. So what public health is doing now, of course, is looking at what the risk is for each of those people individually, and that could, they have to consider what kind of contact the people had with the animal, and if there was really a risk of transmission in that through that contact. And so anyone who does have a risk of transmission will be offered this post-exposure prophylaxis.
Well, Fitzgerald is also reacting to a vet in St. John's who says a tick on a dog has tested positive for Lyme disease. Now, Lyme disease is a big issue elsewhere in Canada, but is still pretty rare in Newfoundland because we don't have the ticks that carry it. It's those ticks that infect animals with Lyme disease. The Chief Medical Officer of Health says the ticks that are found usually come from birds.
The evidence that we have right now is that we're not really seeing evidence actually of all forms of the tick. So there's many, like there's a larval and a nymph form of the tick as well as the adult form, and so we're not seeing all of those forms here. So there isn't evidence at the moment that the ticks that carry the bacteria that cause Lyme disease can actually sort of overwinter here and therefore be able to set up like sort of a permanent population of ticks here. So that's a good thing. Obviously, that's something that we will have to watch.
Well, Another thing to watch out for out in nature is black bears, and they say to keep your distance, back away slowly, and avoid eye contact. Those are just a few tips for staying safe if you do encounter a black bear in the woods. I spoke with Provincial Conservation Services Manager Chris Baldwin about black bear safety earlier today. Have there been many reports of black bears this year?
Typically speaking, they say, we get about over 300 complaints on average each year. And that's throughout the province. Here on the Avalon Peninsula, this past year, up to this point, they've indicated that they've received about 20 complaints, which is a little bit of an uptick from last year, but not too significant. But certainly, they are a regular occurrence within the province of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about precautions. What should people keep in mind to keep black bears away from homes and from communities?
So a lot of folks encounter bears. A lot of hikers and outdoor enthusiasts encounter bears most often and never ever have any sort of negative experience. But it's always important, of course, to keep in mind that there are certain circumstances that may cause conflicts. Certainly, if people don't store garbage or secure garbages properly in their neighborhoods, even in communities where you're next to bear habitat, and that's just about everywhere in this province. And if you're out and about, of course, hiking, if you encounter bears on a trail or in the outdoors, most often it's not a concern. However, getting too close may be a bit of a concern, especially if it's an animal with cubs. If it's a sow or a female bear with cubs, that can be dangerous if folks get too close, or if you get between an animal and its food source. So those kinds of things can be a bit hazardous. But there are some general things that people can do to avoid conflicts. If you get too close and one does become aggressive, then it's important to stay calm, back away slowly. Try not to make direct eye contact. That's seen as a bit of a sign of aggression towards the animal. They perceive that. And so it's very, very important to kind of take those things into consideration. If a bear actually attacks, then you may need to protect yourself. Obviously, the general sort of precautions or the general ideas of laying down and playing dead and covering your the back of your neck, that sort of thing, that's the kind of step that would probably need to be taken if you're in a sort of predatory attack. But again, those things are quite rare. But it's something that you might have to do in order to protect yourself. And keep in mind, of course, always don't corner the animal. Always give it a way to make its way off or escape itself if that's the situation. And so those are some very general common sense precautions.
Mm-hmm. The helicopter captain and crew that responded to the stranded MSC Baltic 3 earlier this year are getting international recognition for their rescue efforts. The Royal Canadian Air Force's 103 Search and Rescue Squadron, which is based in Gander, will receive the International Maritime Organization's Certificates of Commendation. The team rescued 20 crew members from the MSC Baltic when it ran aground on the west coast of the island back in February. The IMO says the rescue required skillful piloting due to the high winds and the violent 18-foot waves shaking the Baltic at the time. The squadron will receive their awards at a special ceremony in London, England in November.
Well, we certainly have lots of warm temperatures today. Nature's air conditioning certainly kicking in, though, for those of you along the coast. Take a look at these temperatures, though. 28 degrees in Badger, same thing for Deer Lake, and even Happy Valley Goose Bay reaching the 28-degree mark. There's a lot of heat, and you can see that back even through the Atlantic provinces, and it's going to continue. We've got heat warnings in place now up across parts of Labrador. Fog patches the story tonight, and then we've got that summer heat continuing tomorrow and really through next week for most of Labrador. We do have some rain on the way for the weekend. I'll get into all the details coming up in a little bit.
We're here in the CBC radio studio where host Adam Walsh does The Signal every weekday afternoon. And Adam is going to be doing something really interesting over the next 6 months with Oxford University, and he's here to tell us about it. It has to do with how journalists cover extreme weather events like hurricanes, wildfires, flooding, things that affect all of us more and more these days. So Adam, tell us about this program.
First of all, I'm not going anywhere, right? I'm working every day on the show still, but this is extra work. It's with the Oxford Climate Journalism Network. It's through the Reuters Institute, as you said, at Oxford University. I am one of 100 journalists in a cohort for the next 6 months from 59 different countries, right? So including me in Canada. We're going to learn about climate change, climate coverage, together from one another to hear how people are covering climate change, like what's happening in India, what's happening in the southern United States, what's going on in parts of Africa, that type of a thing. We talk to each other, and they also bring in global experts to teach us about climate change. And the whole purpose of this is to hopefully improve climate coverage and understanding about impact and what's going on with it globally. And then the thought is that with each journalist, and as they learn, their newsroom learns with them. So we'll learn everything from looking at greenwashing, right? Looking at finance, looking at even Climate Basics 101. I've got a course next week, a session we're doing on extreme weather and attributions, right? Whether it's climate related or not, or if things are still fuzzy or what is. So that's some of the learnings there. And then as I learn this stuff, I'll talk about it with folks like yourself and in the newsroom, so that hopefully, that whole rising tide, lifting all boats bit, it's this with climate coverage globally.
There is that question when we do have these extreme weather events, which can be a politically sensitive question about, is this caused by climate change or not? So that's something you're going to be looking at.
And the beauty of this is like the session I have next week on attribution. I mean, this is from a global center that looks at this, and they look at the science behind it and what is known, what is still fuzzy or murky, and what is not known. And then you can, when you talk about something, you have confidence because it's a global reference of the people and the scientists who are actually looking at something. And then just knowing that this is out there and being able to attribute it and talk about it in this way with the knowledge behind us, it improves things. And another little bit was there's a piece that was done by one of the other cohorts called Find Your Mango. Okay. So this was about, it was a part of the world where folks eat mangoes as a staple. Climate change affected the growth of mangoes. And the point of this is that, so that's a climate story. When it's a staple food, it affects people, their nutrition, and a lot of other things in communities. But the point was that everywhere in every community around the world, you're going to have something that may not be a literal mango, but you're going to have something that's like a mango. And when you're thinking of climate coverage, it's like, well, let's think of the thing that affects all of us, it impacts us, and how to cover this story in a way that will speak to us so we understand what is happening with the world so that we can mitigate things when it comes to climate change and also adapt when it comes to climate change.
Sounds like the economy plays a big role in that, and I can see the fishery in this province potentially being a mango, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's all there.
And you mentioned greenwashing, and that's a term that we're hearing more and more about, and that journalists are on the lookout for these days when companies or industries do greenwash.
Yeah, they make claims, right? They make claims, oh, this is environmentally friendly. This is, we're thinking of net zero with this. Like, well, are you really? What is it? We're going to be looking into, like, I've got a course coming up on greenwashing, also on climate disinformation and misinformation. So, like, all of these tools, all of this know-how, and also hearing about what's happening in coverage in different parts of the world with different governments and different newsrooms, all of that coming into us here at St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, I think it is such a gift and an opportunity to just spread this information. And it's an amazing responsibility for the next 6 months, and hopefully where we can bring climate coverage from CBC Newfoundland and Labrador and from St. John's.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning from you two on this as well. Yeah. And why are you so interested in this? How did this come about for you personally?
It's one of these, it's the big story of our time, right? And I sit down every day. A lot of times we do, like the last couple of years, we've done Climate Week on the Signal. I'm interested in seeing how folks are impacted around the province, whether it's on the north coast, right, whether it's on the west coast of this island, whether it's in St. John's or you name it, how people are being impacted about what is happening with us, how to figure it out, and how to look at different ways to either, like I said earlier, adapt or also what we're doing with mitigation. It's just something that's always spoke to me. I think it's such an important story to cover.
Can't wait to hear more about it. Adam Walsh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Terry Fox National Ride for Hope arrived in St. John's this afternoon after a 7,000-kilometer bicycle trip that began last month in Vancouver. Terry Fox's brother, Daryl, was there. Actually, just for the commercials there, we were speaking with Adam Walsh about the work he's going to be doing with Oxford University, looking at extreme weather events. And of course, one of the weather events that you're keeping a close eye on is the heat and how that affects wildfires.
Yeah, heat domes definitely becoming much more common across most of the world. And yeah, this constant heat and, warm temperatures as well as sunshine really help to dry out the forest and the areas. And today's fire risk map really shows that. Most areas are either high or extreme, somewhere between there, except the eastern portion of the Avalon, where right now it's at moderate. And that's just because the temperatures have been a little cooler than most of the other parts of the province. But I do anticipate that this will change. Although we do have a little bit of rain on the way, especially as we head into tomorrow night. We may start to see some showers for southern areas of the island, and then by the time we get into Saturday, we'll start to see some showers further east. But for now, not a surprise that the fire risk is so high. Take a look at these temperatures. It is still 28 degrees in Deer Lake right now, 28 in Happy Valley Goose Bay as well. All across the Big Land, your temperatures are into the 20s. We do have those much cooler temperatures, though, along the northeast coast, only in the teens, and that's because the sea breeze kicked in today, bringing those temperatures down through the day. But pretty much going to see this heat continue. Environment Canada has an excessive heat warning in place now from Makkovik through to the south coast and then through Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and even Churchill Falls. You are under that excessive heat warning. And that means temperatures over the next really through next week, the beginning of next week, are going to be somewhere between 29 to 33 degrees. And the heat warnings come when there's not a whole lot of relief at night either. So we're still looking at those temperatures only dipping between 16 to 20 degrees. The good news is, for now anyway, not a whole lot of humidity, but as we head into next week, that is going to change. You will be seeing those humid conditions. So a couple of tips to beat the heat over the next little bit. Stay hydrated, wear a hat, sunscreen also very important, and shade. Remember, it is your friend. And the other thing, we're starting to get a little bit more of us that have some air conditioning, but if you don't have air conditioning, very important to keep your blinds and windows closed. You don't want to let that heat in through the day, and then that will help keep your house cold. So keep that in mind as you head through the next couple of days, because like I said, it is not going anywhere. That ridge of high pressure dominating the weather picture. We're not seeing a whole lot of cloud cover, just a little bit popping up into the afternoon. But I want to show you something pretty cool on the satellite. You can see that the sea breeze kick in, and you could see those easterly winds there. So I thought that was really cool today. That is nature's air conditioner. As we head through tonight, pretty much all of us looking at a quiet evening. We will see some fog patches though along the northeast coast, the Avalon, and parts of the Burin Peninsula and the south coast. We'll see the fog patches overnight tonight. And as we head into tomorrow morning, not a whole lot going on. We may see a few showers for Lab West, but that's it. Temperatures are going to stay mild tonight, 10 to 14 degrees, light winds across the board. And then into tomorrow, essentially, you'll just be seeing clouds on the increase. Now, this model a little bit more aggressive with that. You may see a few showers, maybe even a few rumbles of thunder in Lab West tomorrow. But the shower activity is certainly possible as we head through the overnight, as we see this next area of low pressure move in. And that will bring the rain along the south coast and the Avalon as we head through the day on Saturday. So keep that in mind, certainly much needed. Temperatures tomorrow are going to be warm, upper 20s rather. The story, except in onshore flow along the south coast, not a whole lot of a breeze. A better breeze though up across Labrador, not much, but still 15 to 20 kilometer per hour winds out of the south or southeast. Take a look at your temperatures though, 25 to 30 degrees tomorrow. Other than those showers in the west, nothing but sunshine. I'll get into the long range coming up a little later.
Thanks, Ashley. A group of cyclists arrived in St. John's this afternoon after completing a 7,000-kilometer journey that began early last month in Vancouver. The Terry Fox National Ride for Hope set out to honor the 45th anniversary of Terry's Marathon of Hope. And among the riders was Terry's younger brother, Daryl Fox.
45 years after his brother dipped his leg here in the Atlantic Ocean and began his run, Daryl Fox and his team rolled into their finish. A month-long ride across Canada to raise money for the foundation his family started. An emotional ride for riders and those waiting for them to finish.
This journey, this ride has been next level in terms of what I've seen crossing the country, hearing from people who saw Terry in 1980. I remember the fellow outside of Espanola, Ontario, who yelled at us all. He said, "I was standing here 45 years ago." It was incredible. And here you are, here today, where Terry started his Marathon of Hope 45 years ago on April 12th.
Great job. Fantastic. 45 years later, does it still surprise you that you have people all across the country running out to see you to tell you stories?
Not really, because the reality is I'm very close to it. My identity is Terry Fox's brother. I meet people every day who are influenced by Terry, and they love him. They really do. They love his values of humility, courage, determination, and so do I. And I like being around that story. It's a good story, it's a positive story, and it's a story I believe, I know I'm biased here, that'll be with us forevermore.
I think when you came in, you saw your parents, is that correct? And what was that like for you to see them here at the finish line?
So emotional. I got a second chance at life, not from cancer, quite honestly, but from addiction 18 years ago. I'm lucky to actually be alive, and without the support of my family and some other people in my life, I wouldn't be here today. And I swore when I cleaned up all those years ago that at some point in my life I would do something truly meaningful to give back, to show my gratitude for my second chance, and the fact that my parents never gave up on me and are here to tell me how proud they are of me for what my life has become. It's pretty incredible to have them here.
Are there any days when you get up with the team and they're like, we don't want to go on or we don't want to finish? Does that ever cross your mind? Does it ever get hard that maybe we should take a break for a day or two?
It never was part of the discussion because we committed to riding for 32 days, and I'm telling you, we all had our tough parts. I had severe dehydration for 7 days, but it never crossed my mind that I would quit because I know I'd be letting down Terry and letting down those that we were riding for, so it never entered my mind.
To date, the Terry Fox Foundation has raised more than $900 million, a number that would be staggering to anyone who was here back in 1980 when the young boy from BC began his Marathon of Hope and its very humble beginnings. 45 years later, that movement shows no signs of slowing down. Jeremy Eden, CBC News, St. John's.
Returning now to our top story, Hydro-Quebec has suspended geotechnical work on the Gull Island site after Innu protesters blocked the road yesterday evening. One Shahajit resident who participated in the barricade says the land is worth more than money. He spoke with the CBC's Andrea McGuire.
We got this barricaded because we heard they brought in campers a couple days ago. And we decided to come up here a couple days ago, but they removed them before we got here. So we got this all barred up so they won't bring in no equipment, no trailers, no workers, no surveying. Because surveying, they're going to destroy the land anyway. They're saying they're not going to touch the land, they're not going to hurt it, but surveying, they're going to bring in loaders, drills. So we barricaded it up so no equipment will beat up the land. This protest stopped the dam, because the land is more important about the dam or the money. Everybody loves money. I love money too, but it's only a couple days money you're going to have here. But for them, they're going to have big bank accounts. Like, they're going to be rich off of this. And us, we're not going to get nothing off of it.
Is there any amount of money that would make this deal okay with you?
No, just keep the land. That's the best thing about it, have this land. Like, I take my grandkids here to partridge hunting, let them drive around. Like, I teach my grandkids here. Well, my grandkids, that's where they're going to grow up and bring their kids here. Because I'm here to meet new people. Like back home, I never do that. I meet new people every day here. Like the people I never seen before. So all this, the gathering site, is to bring people together. Not to destroy it.
Well, the Canada Games torch is continuing its journey towards St. John's in advance of next month's games. Today, the torch made its way through Happy Valley Goose Bay, and CBC was there for the handoff.
You are the first leg of the relay today. Have you been practicing, carrying weights? Any inside tips on what you've been doing?
My Lord, man, I'm so old I can't even practice anymore. But I walk this boardwalk once in a while. So I know I can make it from here to where I pass off the torch to Dave, but it's certainly not going to be very spritey. I'll take my time, and that way I won't collapse.
This is one of the first times that the torch has been in Labrador. What does that mean to you to know that they made the effort to come here?
Oh, it means a great deal that Labrador is included in this for a number of reasons. One of them being that we do have a number of athletes from Labrador who are competing in the different events that are taking place. And I think too often in the past, we've had one part of the province doing something and not including the other, but Labrador and Newfoundland are constitutionally one province. So let's act like one. And this is a good, important step towards that objective, I think. And I know I'm extremely happy that they've included us. And our athletes, I hope, will not only be competitive, but do some winning as well.
Wesley, what was your reaction when they asked you to carry the torch?
I was quite surprised, actually. I didn't know I was nominated. I've got the whole Howling Huskies cheering me on, so...
Can you tell me about the Howling Huskies?
We're a Special Olympics organization here in Goose Bay.
This province has, over the years, come up with some pretty fine athletes who've taken part in swimming and hockey and baseball, softball, and many other events. And my hope is that they're going to compete just as strongly and competitively as possible during these Canada Games. And because there are athletes from Labrador included, then of course I'll be rooting strongly for them as well. But it's great to see the games taking place in this province. And it's another mark up in our favor as one of the provinces of Canada. And good luck to all of them, every one of them.
Well, Statistics Canada says the amount of petty crime and violent crime has increased in Newfoundland and Labrador since 1998. And while the stats may be alarming, criminologist Adrian Peters says the province is still a safe place.
Our violent crime rate is going up in Newfoundland and Labrador, which may seem concerning, but for me, it's actually just representing maybe more things are being reported. Like I mentioned, even these gender types of violence or these interpersonal types of interactions are being reported more. And also, I think it just speaks to the fact that we're becoming more urban. We're basically growing. We're growing very rapidly. COVID, the pandemic, perpetuated a lot of this and really accelerated a lot of development. And a lot of these changes are really positive, but they are going to bring with it a number of influx dynamics that do create a perfect recipe for some types of offenses to occur. So I just think, again, I would just encourage people to kind of ask questions about what these numbers really mean and to remind them that these aren't random incidents. Individuals are incredibly safe in our province. I travel. I'm very fortunate in my work that I get to travel and explore lots of places and make lots of observations and or meet other people who are studying similar types of issues. And every time I come home, I'm reminded just how safe we are here. But having said that, we are changing, and we have the kind of the strength in that we have a crystal ball, which is the rest of the world. And I think it's really important to look at what's happening elsewhere and to start trying to get ahead of some of the issues in our province and being preventative with some of this so that we can support our people and really kind of thrive as opposed to getting caught up into some of the challenges that are impacting other larger spaces. But that is what we're seeing here, is we're basically just seeing a shift from going from a relatively quiet and rural, remote place to now becoming much more urban with a mix of a population that's bringing with it much more, many more dynamics that we need to look at.
Well, it's been nearly a week since the deadly Texas floods that killed at least 120 people. But with more than 170 still missing, officials say they're desperately searching for survivors.
It is a methodical search which ensures that every area in an area to be searched is covered and searched and that no stone is left unturned.
More than 2,000 local, state, and federal workers are involved in looking for victims. U.S. President Donald Trump has offered federal help to support local rescue and recovery efforts. He's planning to visit the state on Friday. Well, artificial intelligence has opened the door to a world of possibilities for marketers, but it also allows for abuse, such as an AI-generated character spouting racially charged rhetoric. Ashley Fraser of CBC's Visual Investigations Unit traced one such campaign back to a Canadian company. And just a warning, some of the messages may be disturbing.
This is Josh.
Tim Hortons just asked if I speak Punjabi. I'm whiter than their Boston cream.
He's not a real person. He's AI.
I just applied to Staples for the 4th time.
Looking into who's behind these videos, we discover that Josh is not just a realistic avatar going on a job hunt.
Like, how do I get volunteer experience to get volunteer experience?
Josh was created by an online hiring and recruiting platform.
I'll be honest, we did that for fun. You know, some of the videos went extremely viral.
So this certainly does take marketing to a whole new level, but not in a good way.
500,000 unemployed.
Working with the CBC's Visual Investigations team, we take a deep dive into this fake influencer account. It features a few characters, most prominently Josh. They stand out to us because on the surface, many of these videos are convincing, and they're not labeled as being AI generated on TikTok. Some are so convincing that viewers comment as if Josh is a real person, arguing with him and giving him advice on his job hunt. Other comments call the videos racist, which Josh says isn't his intention.
For a company to use this kind of campaign tonality in order to attract consumers to its services is highly, highly problematic and unlike anything that I've ever seen.
I can't believe I lost the job to someone who barely speaks English. Apparently, I'm not qualified to be a junior data analyst. Manager said they're fully staffed.
The thing is, these weren't obvious advertisements. The brand name Nexa and logo pops up in the videos and comments again and again and again. Then we notice the account's first follower is this person. And on the company's website, we see he's the co-founder and CTO. Nex's CEO is Divi Nayar. We asked him about the account.
Unemployed Flex?
Yeah, so that was actually a persona. We have our own TikTok account for Nexa, but this one was more so, let's go into the job seeker's mind.
He also tells me about his company, which uses AI to match job seekers with open positions. Some of the comments on your videos say they're racially charged. Was that a concern for you?
Like, I can't stop people from saying that, but I tried to make videos kind of countering that. So I wanted to educate people using, satire and comedies. There's obviously all these fun things going around, how unions are taking over the job market, and we wanted to have fun with it.
But when we show experts,
This type of content is typically associated with far right groups. For this type of narrative and language to be used, or storytelling and sentiment to be used by a commercial player, is problematic on a number of different levels.
They're only 8 seconds long, they're quick to watch, very convincing because they're AI, but what it doesn't label, it doesn't say it's AI, which is deceiving.
but Nayar disagrees.
Usually it's auto-tagged, and usually I'm very upfront about it. When it comes to disclosing it, of course, we are.
But when we reach out to TikTok about the account Unemployed Flex, they tell us the videos were not properly labeled as AI. This is what it's supposed to look like. Nex's videos do have a small VO watermark. That's Google's AI video generator. But TikTok says it didn't meet their policy. The account was then taken down. We reached out to Nayar, and he tells us he's appealed the removal.
The miners are family, and they have to take care of each other.
It's truly an honor as a Newfoundlander to be able to go out there and bring back a representation of all of the Newfoundlanders that weren't able to come back.
Love the world around you because it does shimmer with the impossible sometimes made possible.
Ashley, we usually talk about birthdays on Fridays, but before we get to weather, we have to mark this birthday. She has been an internet sensation since she was born. Her temper and clumsy antics have inspired memes, art, and even songs.
Yeah, now the global superstar celebrating her first birthday.
Adorable. Crowds of adoring fans showed up for Moo Dang's birthday party organized by her zookeepers in Thailand. The world-famous baby pygmy hippo can be seen here attacking a massive fruit platter.
She and her mom shared a 20-kilo birthday feast made up of carved tropical fruits. Yum.
Yeah, the name Moo Dang in Thai means bouncing pig.
Several of her possessions, including a plastic tub, were auctioned during the festivities, and all proceeds are expected to go towards a wildlife conservation fund.
So cute.
Adorable. Sorry, I got distracted.
Yeah. You had a bit of script to read, but you were just staring at
it.
So
that fruit looks so good.
It doesn't even look real. Like, it looks like a little rubber toy.
So sweet.
Yeah, really cute. Okay. So let's talk about the weather and the long-range forecast. Amazing how things are going to be taking a turn on the island, at least in the east.
In the east.
Yeah. Not so much for Labrador, which is just going to be gorgeous.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
And hot. And
hot,
fire risk high though. Got to keep that in mind as we head through the next couple of days for sure. But let's take a look at what's going to happen Friday evening into Saturday. So it should kind of help the fire risk a little bit for the southern areas of the island overnight Friday and into Saturday, particularly east. That's where the best chance of showers will be. And there's a little bit of disagreement on this. We're still looking at some showers for the first part of the day on Saturday. They will be heavy at times, but then they should start to end as we head towards the evening hours. But like I said, mostly eastern Newfoundland, the only ones that are going to see some shower activity. We may see some showers for Labrador, particularly in the west and the north through the day on Saturday. But other than that, just some cloud cover. Overall, daytime highs are still going to be somewhere between 25 to 31 degrees for most of the big land, except along the strait, a little cooler. And then across the island, 23 to 25 or 26 degrees even. But not for eastern Newfoundland. That area of low pressure is going to bring some much cooler temperatures with it, only sitting in the teens, just barely, about 13 degrees as a daytime high. Also a little bit breezy through the day on Saturday as well. Like I said, that area of low pressure should move off, leading to actually at this point looks like a beautiful Sunday. We will see the chance some unsettled weather on Sunday. Up across Labrador, temperatures may dip a little bit as well, which will be some relief from that high temperature, but we're still looking at lots of sunshine across the island, and temperatures are going to be mild. Now it is Central's turn to see those temperatures around the 30-degree mark. Still rebounding nicely for the east, around 20 degrees, but we'll see much warmer temperatures for the rest of the island. Labrador, generally between 20 to as much as 30 degrees in the west, but cooler for Nain. You'll only be hovering around 12 degrees as your daytime high. Taking a look at the long-range forecast, so it does look better. We've got those temperatures Monday, Tuesday, back up into the mid to upper 20s for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. It'll also feel a little bit humid at that point as well. Central, you're looking at just the mild temperatures continuing, 28 degrees by the time we get into Tuesday with a chance of showers, and again that humid weather expected as well. A little cooler for the west, but still in the mid to upper teens, or 20, I keep wanting to say that, but 20s through the day. And then for Labrador, there's your temperatures, anywhere from 27 to 31 degrees in the long range. A little cooler for Lab West. You'll still be sitting in the 20s by the time we get into Monday, Tuesday, which will bring some relief with those showers. Our weather photo of the day taken in Robert's Arm. A great shot of a calm, beautiful night. I would love to be sitting there right now.
Very nice.
Thank you, Ed, for that photo. And if you have any that you'd like to share with us, you can do that by sending them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Very nice reflection there in the water. And I guess you're just so used to saying teens because we're just not used to like mid-20s.
No.
Yeah.
I just keep wanting to say it, but it's going to be hot.
It's going to be very hot.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Those tips, though, keep cool.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah. And watch out for the pets, too.
And that, too. Very important.
All right. Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
Good night.